guest now. She says she's a feminist and a workaholic, and she uses positive thinking to bring the right man into her life. Please welcome Pat Ruhlman. Hello, Pat.
Hi.
How are you?
Glad to see you.
Nice to see you. Come sit down. Well, Pat, why don't you start off with, tell us about your job.
Well, I'm director of a volunteer program that matches up volunteer parolees with volunteer attorneys, kind of like a big brother, big sister organization.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Terrific. You do that as a volunteer.
No, I am. It's a paid position for me, but
you get people to do that. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I recruit them, tell them the advantages of it, and then I interview them, and then I matchmake them. I'm kind of a matchmaker.
Yeah, you do what we do, kind of in
That's why I'm here.
different sort of way.
That's right.
Do you have children of your own?
Yes, I have two grown sons, 21 and 26.
Okay. How does it feel being a feminist? How can I say this? How is it being a feminist? How does that affect your relationships with men?
A lot of men take it as a challenge.
Exactly. That's what I thought.
They do.
Yeah. Now, don't you like to have your car open for you, car door open?
Oh, I do. Has
that got anything to do with being a feminist?
No, I think that's kind of a myth. I mean, I love the courtesies, and I open up a lot of doors myself.
Hasn't got anything to do with that being a feminist?
No, Yeah. I like to be in charge when it's appropriate, but...
When is it appropriate for you?
When it gets into close quarters, I like to be a little bit more in control. If you know what I mean.
Are we talking about phone booths?
No, I like to be on top. No,
I'll let you draw your own conclusion. Let's take a look at the tapes that Pat saw. Don't forget, you're going to vote again. Now, first there was Charles. He's poetic about women. He says he likes eyes and thighs that hypnotize. That's what he says, and he tells us why he enjoys being single.
I see some guys that are married, and it looks like as though all they are is a garden with occasional sex privileges. But I look at some of these married men, they're very boring life. And I've been able to do things I wanted to do.
All right, next there was Rod. Now, he's from North Dakota. He likes to dance and play bridge. He'd like to be married again, and here's why.
We had our periods of time when we talked, and that was almost every day. We would go out after the children were old enough and then go out to coffee or to some place and just sit and talk for 30 to 45 minutes. And we got it all out, and we go home and take care of our things.
Finally, watch Jim. Now, Jim has 8 children, 17 grandchildren. He's been busy. He loves riding bicycles and horses, and here's how he describes himself.
I think I'm more of a home person, if you will, or a friend-orientated type person. And I just don't enjoy going out and looking the field over and trying to pick someone and seeing if you're, compatible.
Okay, let's see all 3 men again. First, there was Charles. He's a 59-year-old inventor. Then Rod, he's a teacher. He's 57. Finally, Jim, he's 59. He's a general contractor. Audience, time to vote again. Make your choice right now. Who do you think is the best man of all 3? Okay, the audience has made its choice. We're out of time. I have to tell you that. We're out of time. We're going to have to wait till tomorrow to find out what happened on the date. Pat, can you come back and join us?
I'd love to.
All righty, I tell you, that's our show for today. This is Chuck Woolery, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks for being with us.
This is Pat. On yesterday's show, the audience voted on which of these 3 men would be best for her. Today, you'll find out who Pat chose as her date. And this is Tangela. She says that she's ripe for the picking, but so far she hasn't found any pickers. Which of these men did she choose? Which will our audience choose? Today on Love Connection, you'll find out who they picked, who the audience picks, and everything that happened on their dates. Now, here's the host of Love Connection, Chuck Woolery.
Thank you, Roddy. Thanks, everybody. And thank you for joining us today. Let's get started by meeting our first guest. Now, she's from Chicago. She calls herself a re-entry woman and a professional matchmaker. Please welcome Pat Ruhlman. Hey, Pat. Welcome back.
Nice to see you.
And welcome back today. Sure. What's a re-entry woman, Pat?
Well, that usually means something that happened after what I call the big D from death or divorce. And you kind of try to get your train back on the track. get your life going again.
Feel like you've gotten your train back on the track?
Sometimes I'm still in the station, but yeah.
Okay. What's this about you being a matchmaker?
Well, in my job, I'm director of a volunteer program that matches up volunteer attorneys with volunteer parolees to help with social rehabilitation of these minors.
I see. Good. Let's remind everyone what happened yesterday. Now, our studio audience saw Pat's three choices, and they voted for one. Let's take a look at all three men again for you today. First, there was Charles. He's a 59-year-old inventor. Then Rod, he's a teacher. He's 57. Finally, Jim, he's 59, and he's a general contractor. The audience vote was recorded yesterday. We'll get to that a little bit later, but right now, Pat, who did you choose?
I chose Jim.
You chose Jim, okay? Now, Jim's backstage. Let's say hello to Jim Ashford. Hi, Jim.
Hi there. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Well, Pat, why don't you tell us about the day?
Well, we made some plans to spend the day down in San Clemente, take a train ride, have lunch down there, and then visit the mission. We got on the train, went about 100 miles. Both of our grandparents had been on the railroad, and so we talked about that. Plus, I have to say, at this stage of life, you have a little history to get through. You know, World War I, II, III, IV.
Sure.
So, you know, you have more experiences to share.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, we had lunch, and then we walked around the mission.
Now what happens? Are you getting along? You guys enjoying each other? And this good?
At this point, lots of signals going back and forth.
What kind of signals are going back and forth, Pat?
Well, let's see now. We were walking around the mission, and he had his arm around my shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, you're not a very touching person, are you? And I just thought, well, let that one go by. And
are you?
I am, but I wasn't going to say, oh, well, they call me Fifi the monkey girl. You know, I was embarrassed. You know, really. Yeah.
May not be the appropriate
really,
thing to say, you're right.
Then he didn't like my non-response, so to speak.
see.
And I think a few minutes later he said the same thing, kind of rephrased it, and I did find myself a little bugged by that.
Yeah. Now, Jim, did she ever give you the impression that maybe she wasn't that interested in you, or?
Well, she's no, not really. She's a very strong lady, and you know, I was trying to make it, trying to get to know her better, trying to, you know, see who she is, kind of thing. And so I figured at this point that anything that was going to go on, why, she was going to direct it, and I'd just see what was going to happen. So I just kind of went along with the whole deal.
Okay.
I think we're experiencing a little difference in perception here.
Why? How do you perceive this?
Well, well, I sort of felt that he had a kind of like a script that he wanted to happen, and that maybe we weren't moving along fast enough. And so I kind of hit the brake a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So after you hit the brakes and he goes through the windshield, what happens next?
Well, he's a lot of fun. He's a perfect gentleman, but he also is very stubborn, and I could tell that, you know, we weren't in the same wavelength, you know.
So it ended how? Now, exactly what happened?
So he said, gee, I really didn't see your house that much, you know, I'd like to come in for a bit. So I said, fine, let me make you a cup of coffee for the road. But, and I was tired, too. I was tired. And so we talked a little bit, and he was, at that point, we were in the kitchen. Can I tell this? Yes. He gave me this big kiss in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Which, if I wasn't so tired, I might have paid more attention. I think it was about a 4, but in actuality, it might have been about 6. But he said something to the effect that he really wanted to mug around a little bit, but in my business, that means something else. But anyway, I do have to admit, I kind of shuffled him off a little bit and said, hey, you really have to go. I've enjoyed it, but goodbye. And that was it.
That was the parting comment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Jim, you think that Pat's feminism got in the way of the date?
Yeah, I think so. A little bit.
All right. Let's take a look and see who the audience voted for. Well, well, well. The audience voted for Jim, too, 36%. Well, the offer is here. I have to make it. Now, the audience thinks that you made a good choice, as a matter of fact. And we always support what they say by saying that we'll pay for the next date if you take their advice. What do you think?
Well, I think that Jim is a pretty good catch, but not for me. And so I'm going to put him right back into the stream of commerce for some other lucky girl.
Nicely put. I'll have to admit, Pat, that was about as nice as I've heard it put ever. Yeah. Well, Jim, any parting comments?
No, not really. You know, Pat's a nice lady, and she's got her own thing going, and that's good, and I hope she has a lot of success with it.
Well, good. Thanks. I'm sorry things didn't work out for you this time, but maybe we'll see you again. Thanks, Jim.
Okay, and thank you.
All right, Pat. Thanks for being on Love Connection, coming in and sharing all this. I hope you had fun anyway.
I really did.
Well, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. We have a nice gift for you, and
Thank you.
we'll be right back with another couple. Just stay with us.